Hello, everyone, and welcome to Be a Better Communicator Part 2. And this one is on curse of knowledge, this small video. So, I have a few questions for you. Have you played a guessing game with your friends or with your family where you pick up a chit and you read from that and you try and give clues for others to guess a movie or a famous personality? And then you feel it was so simple. Why aren't they getting it? Why are we going wrong like this? And has that happened? Or have you had an idea, based on an experience you've had? Maybe you went somewhere, saw something, experienced something, and based on that, you had an idea and you were trying to convey it to others very enthusiastically. But then you feel you are not really being effective when you're trying to convey that. Has that happened? Sometimes. Or maybe when you were, excited about an event at home, like a birthday party or a dinner party or a festival, and you went out leaving some instructions for your friends and family to do in your absence, and you come back, you notice something else. And then when you ask them, they say, oh, it was your idea, right? And you're quite surprised because that is not what you meant. Has any of this happened to you? If it has, then you have had the curse of knowledge. So, what is it basically? The curse of knowledge is a cognitive bias that occurs when an individual who's communicating with other individuals assumes that they have the background knowledge to understand. This is also called the curse of expertise. And so, what happens is the knowledge is yours. You come from a place of knowledge, it is very clear in your mind, but it need not be equally clear for someone else when you explain because they don't have the background knowledge, the experiences that you've had. So there is this very beautiful experiment, you may have heard of it before, which happened in 1990. It was conducted by Elizabeth Newton. She was a PhD candidate at the Stanford University, and she conducted an experiment to see how people's confidence in communication differed from the reality. Okay. So how was this set up? There were two groups, one of tappers, they tapped, and another one of listeners. And each tapper was partnered with a listener. That is how it was set up. Now the tappers were told that they had to tap a very well-known tune like Happy Birthday, for example. Everybody knows that song. So just to tap out the rhythm on the table, and the listeners were asked to guess what the song was which the tapper would tap. That was as simple as that. Now, the tappers were also asked to predict how many times they thought that the listeners would be able to guess the song. Okay, that was the challenge before them. Interestingly, the tappers felt that about 50% of the times the listeners would be able to get the song because they were playing simple, popular songs, tapping them. But what actually happened was out of 120 songs that were tapped, the listeners could guess only three, right? So there was this marked difference, and we can see the curse of knowledge at work because when you're tapping, the melody is playing in your mind. But to the listener, there isn't any melody, there is only the tapping, only the rhythm. What would you do now if that is hampering your, communication? And you have this curse of knowledge for some reason when you are trying to communicate about a certain instance. It may not be always there, and it is often subconscious, right? So what would you do then to break this curse? So the first thing that is absolutely important is to know your audience. If you know your audience, you would also know their background experiences, their background knowledge, and so when you are trying to explain something, you would perhaps be more effective than you were. So if it is possible to demonstrate, if you've asked people to do paper ornaments, to make paper ornaments in your absence at a party and said, oh, that day what we saw, might as well do a quick demonstration. If you're able to demonstrate a product, an idea through a graphical display, then perhaps you will have communicated it better to somebody who's on the other side. Get a fresh perspective. Very important. Talk to a diverse audience, run it past other people who don't have the same background knowledge as you do, and see how it works. And to understand how that will work better, ask for feedback. Yeah, so the feedback you get will help you build it better and better, and you will be able to communicate even more effectively than you have been. This is a piece of advice I will leave you with, a very, very valuable piece of advice from my line manager. When I started working first with stakeholders who were external and would worry about whether I was getting my point through, whether I was expressing my idea effectively, I remember she said to me, don't forget to state the obvious. It's obvious only to you. State the obvious and you will be perfectly all right. And it has remained with me over the last 20 years or so, extremely valuable advice. So I'll leave that bit of advice with you as I move on. And thank you very much for listening to this video clip. And please do drop in your ideas, your suggestions, your comments for us to build more and more. Thank you so much.